Hi students, welcome back. Coming to our next topic, that is operating system design and implementation. So in this lecture, we will be mainly talking about the design and implementation of an operating system and what are the main things we need to keep in mind when we are designing and implementing an operating system. So let us see what are the main things that we have to keep in mind when we are designing an operating system or if we are implementing an operating system. Alright, let us start. So talking about the design goals, the first problem that we face in design goals are defining goals and specification. Now why this is a problem? This is a problem because it is not very easy to specify all the goals very easy, okay, and it is not very easy to specify all the goals and specification that we need for an operating system. That is because depending on the kind of users and depending on the kind of system requirements that we have, there may be different set of requirements and goals that will be there. And it is not actually possible to fulfill all those goals and specification and requirements, okay. So that is why we call it as a problem, fine. Now talking about some of the requirements which we can specify, two of them are choice of hardware and types of system. So by the choice of hardware, what we mean is the kind of hardware that we are going to choose on which we are going to build our operating system. And then the type of system, so we have discussed about a few kind of system of types of operating system in our previous lecture, right. So it may be include multi-processing system, multitasking system, real-time system and so on. So we can specify the choice of hardware and the type of system that we need, okay. These are two requirements which we can actually specify. Beyond this highest design level, the requirements may be much harder to specify. Now beyond this, the kind of requirements that we have, it may be difficult to specify or it may be difficult to achieve all those requirements. Now let us see what are the kind of requirements that are there. So there are requirements from the users and then there are requirements from the system. So we call them as user goals and system goals. The requirements consist of what? User goals and system goals. So user goals are the requirements that are there from the user perspective or from the user's side. Then the system goals are the requirements which are there from the system or from the developer that are the developing or designing the system. So the system goals are from the system or developer side, designer side, right. Now let us see what are the requirements that are generally there from the user and from the designer. So from the user side, we have the user requirements or the user goals. Now what are the user's goals or requirements from the user side? The user, he wants the system should be convenient to use, easy to learn and use, reliable, safe and fast. So these are some of the requirements that are there from the user side. Now let us see what are the system goals or the requirements from the designers or the developer which should be there in the system. So from the designer side, he also has some requirements. So we call it designer or engineer requirements, or we call it as the system goals. So in the system goals, those designer, he wants the system to be easy to design, implement, easy to maintain, easy to operate, it should be flexible, reliable, error free and efficient. So, these are some of the requirements from the system side. Now, if you look at this, these are some very general terms or very vague terms. So, we actually do not have any particular formula or a particular principle that we can follow in order to achieve all these requirements. Okay. So, there are no particular rules or there are no particular set of instructions that we need to follow in order to make the system easy to learn and use or convenient to use or easy to design or something like that. So, in short, we can say that there is no particular solutions to specify or to meet all the requirements that there in designing an operating system. But there are some principles or rules are actually followed in order to meet at least some of the requirements or to make their operating system as good as it can be. Okay. So, these are discussed with the subject of software engineering, which you might have studied or you will be studying in future. So, in the software engineering there are some principles that they follow in order to achieve some of the requirements which are there, or at least most of the requirements that are there in this designing. So, talking about the software engineering, let us now try to understand mechanism and policies involving that. So, now we will be talking about mechanism and policies. Mechanism and policies. So, first let us try to understand what are mechanism and what are policies. So, we see that mechanism determine how to do something, while policies determine what will be done. So, what mechanism determine how to do something, whereas policies determine what will be done, how a particular thing has to be done. Okay. There is what we mean by mechanism, and what will actually be done, that is called what we mean by policies. Okay. Now, in order to understand this, let me take a simple example from our day to day life. Okay. So, let us say that you are driving a car. When you driving a car, there is some mechanism going on inside the car, right, which is helping the car to move forward. So, there is a mechanism that helps in the working of the car. So, there is a mechanism. Now, let us say that you are driving your car on a road where there is a rule which says that you should not exceed the speed of 50 km per hour. Now, that is the policy. That is a policy, that is a rule telling you that you should not exceed 50 km per hour. And then how you maintain that 50 km per hour in your car while you are driving, that is the mechanism. Okay. The working or the mechanism that helps the car in order to maintain that speed and helps in the working of the car, that is the mechanism. So, I hope that helps us to understand what is mechanism and what is policy. So, coming back to our operating system again, there is an principle which says that it is always good to separate policies from mechanism. One important principle is the separation of policies from mechanism. Now, why is this required? Let us come back to our example of the car again. Okay. Now, let us say that is the first case you are having your mechanism and policies separate. So, let us see why this is good and why this is flexible. Coming to our previous example, that is your car. Now, you are driving that same car through another route now. Okay. And in the other route, it says that you should not exceed the speed of 40 kilometers per hour. So, before you are driving at a speed of 50 kilometer per hour, now you are told to drive at 40 kilometer per hour. Now you are need to slow down your speed. So for doing that, you do not have to change the mechanism of your car, right. You can just slow down your speed to 40 kilometer per hour, but the mechanism of how the car works, it still remains the same. So the mechanism is not affected by the change in policy. So what we saw, the mechanism is not affected by the change in policy that we have. So now let us say that in other case, you are having your mechanism and policies as one unit as shown over here. So if this is the case, what happens is that your car is designed to run at 50 kilometers per hour. Now when there is a new policy that says that you have to slow down to 40 kilometer per hour, then along with the policy you have to change the entire mechanism as well, which is a very bad. That is because you have the different policies, you have to change the entire mechanism of the car, which is not flexible, which is not practical, and which is not efficient. So from there we can understand why it is important to have policy and mechanism separate. Okay. So the change in policy will not affect the mechanism of your operating system. So let us take an example in terms of operating system, because we are talking about cars till now. So let us say we have a simple example. So let us say we have a simple example of resource allocation. So we have already talked about resource allocation in the previous lecture. So resource allocation means what? A process needs a particular resource, so it requires for that resource, and then the resource has to be allocated to that particular process. Okay. Now when a process requests for a resource, how that resource will be allocated to the process, that is your mechanism. And then the policy determined what will be done. The policy will determine whether to allocate the resource to that process or not, so that is your policy. So the way of allocating the resource to our process, that is your mechanism, that should always remain the same. So it should not be changed, but whether that resource will be actually be allocated to the process, that will be determined by the policy. So sometimes according to the policy, resource may be allocated or sometimes it may not be allocated. So a change in policy should not affect the mechanism of your operating system. That is why we have this important principle, that one important principle is the separation of policy from mechanism, which says it is always good to separate policy from mechanism. Alright. Now we have talked about designing and we have also talked about mechanism and policies. Now after you have done this, after you have designed your operating system, the final thing that you have to do is you have to implement your operating system. Now let us see how do we implement our operating system. So coming to the implementation, of course it must be implemented for it to work. So the first operating system that they were mainly written in the assembly languages. So if you have used assembly language or studied about assembly languages, you know that it is not very easy to write assembly languages. So this is long and it is very complicated and very complex language. So advantages of writing in high level language, what? The code can be written faster, it is more compact, it is easier to understand and debug, it is easier to port. Okay. But the operating system that we have now, they are mostly written in the higher level languages such as C and C++. So, coming to the implementations, of course, it must be implemented for it to work. So, the first OS that they were mainly written in the assembly level languages. So, if you have used assembly language or studied about assembly languages, you know that it is not very easy to write assembly languages. This is very long, this is very complicated. So, operating system, but now operating system that we have, they are mostly written in higher level languages such as C and C++. Now, let us see what are the advantages of writing our operating system in higher level languages and not in assembly level languages. So, these are some of the advantages of writing your operating system in higher level languages like C and C++. So, first one is the code can be written faster. So, the first advantages of writing in high level languages is the code can be written faster. So, if you have done assembly languages coding, then you know that it is not very easy to write in assembly languages. But if you switch to higher level languages like C and C++, it would be easier and also faster to write it in this kind of higher level languages like C and C++, and it is more compact. And next, it is more compact, that is because you do not have to write more and too many things as compared to the assembly level language when you write in high level languages. Next is what? It is easier to understand and debug. Okay. So, if you are writing your program in high level languages, it will be easier to understand even if another person is reading the codes that is written by you. We know that it is not very hard to understand. Okay. If it is written in C and C++ or something like that, and if there are some kind of errors, it will be easy to debug if it is written in this kind of high level languages. And then it says that it is easy to port. So, by easier to port, we mean that it will be easier to port the operating system from one hardware to another hardware. Now, the problem is, or the disadvantage of writing an assembly level languages is that if you have written an operating system in assembly level languages, then the operating system will be supported only in those hardware which are fitted with the processors or the CPU's family similar to the one in which you have written your operating system. Like for example, MS-DOS was written in Intel 8088 assembly language. Consequently, it is available on only the Intel family of CPUs, but the Linux operating system in contrast is written mostly in C and is available on a number of different CPUs including Intel, Motorola, SPARC, MIPS and so on. So, MS-DOS, Microsoft Disk Operating System, that is MS-DOS, which is an old operating system, and because of this, so since MS-DOS was written in the Intel 8088 assembly language, so it is supported only the Intel family of CPUs. So, the CPUs from the Intel family are the families are the only one that supports the operating system of MS-DOS. But the Linux operating system is written mostly in C programming language and is available on a number of different CPUs including Intel, Motorola, SPARC and MIPS and so on. So, the Linux operating system on the other hand, it is written in C, which is higher level language, it is available on a variety of CPUs. So, this is the main advantages. So, this is the example of portability. It is easy to port if you are writing it higher level language. Alright. So, that was about the implementation of your operating system. So, when we talking about operating system, designing an operating system, so it is very vast task and it is not like that that can be achieved by following some set of rules, or there is no any particular book for to design a operating system or implementing a operating system. So, depending on the kind of requirements, depending on the kind of system that you have to do the working of the operating system, you have to use your creativity to design your operating system in a best possible way. So, I hope that was clear to you. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.